Public Improvement Commission hearing of September 3rd, 2020. Our first item of the hearing minutes, at the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on August 20th, 2020. Any questions or comments about the hearing minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I make a motion to approve to accept the minutes of the Public Improvement Commission hearing held on August 20th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to the public hearing continued portion. Our first item is on a petition by Mark Kenmore LLC for the widening, relocation, and extension of the existing right-of-way lines of Commonwealth Avenue, a public way in Boston proper, generally at Beacon Street and Kenmore Square, located west of Brookline Avenue. This was new business on April 23rd, 2020, had its first public hearing on May 21st, 2020, had a public hearing continued on June 18th, 2020, had another public hearing continued on July 23rd, and August 20th, 2020, and it's as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Widening and Relocation Plan, Commonwealth Avenue, Fenway, one sheet, dated March 2020.
Hi, good morning. This is Damian Chaviano from Mark Kenmore. Can you hear me?
We can, Damian.
Great. Thank you, Chief. At this time, Chief, we'd like to withdraw our petition. We've had fruitful discussions with the BTD, MBTA, and other folks regarding the design of some of the improvements that we're proposing as part of our overall offering. And at this time, we think rather than a continuance, which we've moved forward with over the last couple months, we think it'd be more productive to withdraw so that we can fine-tune the overall design and be back in front of you hopefully before year end. So with your permission, our request today is to withdraw this petition.
Thanks, Damian. Any questions or comments by members of the commission on the request to withdraw without prejudice?
Chief, if the petitioner could add the following words, withdraw without prejudice, that would be the proper sort of words.
All right, I appreciate that. Our withdrawal will be without prejudice. Thank you for that clarification.
Thanks, Damian.
Any other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
We're all set.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this item to withdraw without prejudice.
I'll make a motion to withdraw public hearing continued item number 1 is read into the record by the chair to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our second item on a petition by Mark Kenmore LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Commonwealth Avenue at address number 560-574, generally at Beacon Street / Kenmore Square, and Beacon Street generally at Commonwealth Avenue and Kenmore Square. This was new business on April 23rd, 2020, had its first public hearing on May 21st, 2020, and had public hearings continued on June 18th, July 23rd, and August 20th, all 2020. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Commonwealth Avenue and Beacon Street, Fenway, one sheet dated March 2020.
Thank you, Chief Osgood. Consistent with my previous comments, they're applicable here as well. So at this time, we'll withdraw without prejudice, assuming that's okay with the commission.
Thanks, David. Questions or comments on the request? Todd or Robbie?
All set.
None.
None.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to withdraw public hearing continued item number 2 as read into the record by the chair without prejudice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thanks so much. We look forward to
Thank you, Chief. We look forward to working with your team on this and the continued efforts.
Thank you. Our next item is on a petition by Charles River Park D Company for the acceptance of pedestrian easement adjacent to the following public ways in Boston proper: Lemazny Way on the southwesterly Signed at address number 35, southeast of Martha Road and Nashua Street, and Martha Road on its southwesterly side, northwest of Lamazny Way and Nashua Street. This was new business on July 23rd, 2020, and had its first public hearing on August 20th, 2020. This is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement, Lamazny Way and Martha Road, Boston, one sheet dated June 2020. Todd, Robbie, do you know if we have the petitioner for this item?
Looking through the attendees list, we have some call-in numbers. I don't know if that might be one of them.
Are there any representatives of Charles River Park D Company here?
Todd, can you find if there's any text from Charles Stein Hudson? I think they may be the staff people that are supposed to meet, and or there's some notion that they are going to request a continuance on this one. Or am I mixing things up?
Yes, my understanding is that they are looking to continue this action. So I think unless they can speak up in the next minute or two, we can just continue this to the next hearing on the 24th.
Okay, can you ask just for the record if there's anyone from Power Stein Hudson, again, assuming it will get finished, that was the engineer for this project?
Didn't quite hear the question. The engineer for this project is Howard Stein Hudson and Niche Engineering. It was a joint effort.
And can you just ask, is there anyone on the call that will be done?
Yeah. Is there?
Let me ask, is there anyone from Power Stein Hudson who is representing the petitioner, or from Niche Engineering, again, representing the petitioner on this phone call from this hearing?
Hi, Deb Dick from Niche Engineering is here. I'm not familiar with this project, but we would politely request a continuance. Possible, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
Excuse me, 3 weeks, thank you.
And
Thanks, Devin.
I'm Howard Stein Hudson too. Well, I'm also here not representing that project, but the company is, I agree with Deb. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Any questions or comments on the continuance of this item for 3 weeks? Okay, Todd, Robbie?
We're all set.
Thank you.
Members of the public?
None.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item to continue it for 3 weeks.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing, continued item number 3 for 3 weeks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to public hearing, continued item number 4, also on a petition by Charles River Park D Company for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, special lighting, infrastructure, street trees, planters, landscaping, storm drain infrastructure, street furniture, bike racks, driveway curb cuts, and the removal of traffic islands. The locations will Lamazny Way, generally at address number 35, east of Martha Road and Nashua Street, and Martha Road on a southwesterly side, northwest of Lamazny Way and Nashua Street, as well as Thoreau Path, generally north of William Carter. This was new business on July 23rd, 2020, and had a public hearing on August 20th, 2020. This is shown on 2 sets of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, Lamazny Way, Garden Garage, Lamazny Way Improvements, West End, 2 sheets dated June 12th, 2020, as well as the City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Thoreau Path, West End, 2 sheets dated June 2020. I don't know if Deb or Guy or any members of the Charles River Park D Company team want to speak to this project.
Yes, this is Deb Danik with Niche Engineering. I'm going to politely request a continuance for 3 weeks for this request as well, please.
And Guy Booza, Howard Stein Hudson, requesting the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb and Guy. Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Todd or Ravi?
We're all set on this one as well. Thank you.
Members of the public?
None.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item to continue it for 3 weeks.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing, continued item number 4 is read into the record by the chair for 3 weeks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our fifth item on a petition by CKG Columbus LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, streetlights, streetlights, street trees, irrigation infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, bike racks, and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Columbus Avenue on its southeasterly side at address number 566 between Mass Ave and West Springfield Street, Mass Ave on its northeasterly side at address number 450 southeast of Columbus Avenue, as well as West Springfield Street on its southwesterly side southeast of Columbus Avenue. This was new business on July 23rd, 2020. Had its first public hearing on August 20th, 2020, and this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan 566 Columbus Avenue, also known as 450 Columbus Mass Ave, Boston, South End, 2 sheets dated September 3rd, 2020.
Good morning, Commissioner Osgood, Chief Osgood, and all the rest of the commissioners. My name is Jonathan Garland. I'm the design architect for the project with J. Garland Enterprises, and I'm also joined here by New Boston Ventures, the developer entity, Stephen Sawyer of DCI, which is the civil engineer, and Nick Healy of IBI, which is the landscape. We've been with you over the last 2 weeks. We were here 2 weeks ago in a meeting just before that. And we're here today to respond to a few minor comments that we received at the last commission hearing and are prepared to present those today. So I'll quickly just run through, in way of summary, the proposed building that's recently been approved by the Landmarks Commission as of July of this year. So here is the perspective image of the building from Columbus Ave and Mass Avenue. It's a 66-unit residential building with nonprofit space at the ground floor of the building. This is the...
It might just be me, but I am seeing that you're presenting, but I can't see the images that you're presenting.
That is correct, Chief.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay. Let's go back.
We can certainly present the plans on your behalf, but I don't think we have the building images.
Let's see if this one works. Can you see that?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay, apologize for that.
No problem at all.
Oh, and I'm getting some sort of a screen flickering. I don't know why I'm getting a screen flickering here.
It seems to.
But I'll just keep going on our end.
Looks fine on our end.
Okay, it looks fine on your end. That's great then. So here's a shot, as I was saying, of the Mass Avenue and Columbus Avenue corner. 66 units of home ownership units here, resident and ground floor commercial space, which you can see lining the edge of Columbus and Mass Avenue. Here's a vantage point from Mass Avenue, where you can see we're retaining the sidewalk and the streetscape, proposing new materials, but keeping the setbacks. And then we have the garage entry, which you're ramping up to off of Mass Avenue. This is an angle from West Springfield and Columbus Avenue, and you can see how the building transitions down the other edge into West Springfield. And the new street trees, as we're showing here, are part of the proposal. The street lights are retaining, and we're looking to refurnish and rebuff those as needed. This is an angle from the West Springfield side. If you're heading back toward Columbus Avenue, you can see how the building is transitioning back to the row houses on West Springfield. And this is just a comprehensive public realm streetscape site plan, where you can see our intention is to retain the brick paving going along the perimeter. We will have, new planted street trees, new public bikes, as well as the blue bike share, which is right here at the corner of West Springfield and Columbus. And Nick and Steve can get into those details a bit further. At this point, I'll turn it over to Steve to just walk through some of the specific repairs.
Jonathan, if I may interrupt you for a moment, you are putting a new building at a location that has an existing building, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Mr. Garden, if you could be ever so kind to let us know the building that is there, or if there's a common reference to the building that is there right now?
There's currently a 3-story community-oriented building there, community services-oriented building. It was built in the mid-'70s. It's known as the Harriet Tubman House. That's currently on the site, and so that would be removed, and this building would be proposed in its place.
Thank you.
Hello, Steve Sawyer, Design Consultants Inc. Jonathan, for some reason this one's kind of flickering a bit, at least in my view. Maybe.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I'm not sure why that's happening.
I wonder for the plan here, if it works for Todd or Abhi, maybe we can present the plan now that Jonathan's gone through the building renderings.
That's totally fine. Do you have them?
Yes.
I believe so. Todd, do we have them?
We have the plans. Abby will pull them up in just a moment.
Okay.
Mr. Garland, until such time, is it possible for you to add a couple of sentences with regards to the community process which you have gone through to reuse the Harriet Tubman House footprint for this purpose?
Yes, we've gone through a robust community process, which is getting very close to about 2 years now. In terms of when we started the process, we have had a number of BPDA meetings, both formal and informal, as part of the Article 80 large project review process. We had an extremely thorough landmarks review process as well, totaling over 8 meetings. And then in between all of that, we've had just a number of just sort of good neighbor informal meetings with our neighbors and the abutters to talk about the merits of the project, the challenges, and all the other impacts you may imagine, both with regard to the building and the streetscape. And so we've come out of this close to 2-year process with, I think, a much better building, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of communication.
Thank you, Mr. Garland.
Thank you.
Hello, Steve Sawyer with Design Consultants Inc. Actually, I've already, in the past couple of meetings, I think I've run through the improvements. The last remaining, I think the last remaining item, excuse me, was the brick on Columbus Ave. It's been determined and coordinated that that will remain as brick. As the brick was, the public realm was brick, existing brick. It was dictated that we replace that with brick, so the entire sidewalk along Columbus Ave is going to be brick. A couple other items. Denise with Boston Water Sewer had asked about the grates in the gutter mouth. We did add a note 10 regarding if not gutter mouth, replaces gutter mouth in poor condition to be replaced all frame structures. And then there was another item regarding a tree at the corner of on Mass Ave towards the corner. That tree was located fairly close to an existing catch basin.
Zoom in on the tree.
Coordinating with the landscape architect, we're hoping that instead of sliding that tree away from the catch basin, would be to provide, I guess in the past what they do is they provide a root barrier. It's 48 inches in depth. It's a rigid polyethylene sheeting that is placed between the root structure and the catch basin, that would prevent the roots from migrating out into the street or into the catch basin. But we defer to Boston Water Sewer if that would be okay versus sliding the tree. What happens is maintaining our 15-foot separation to the lights, and then kind of keeping the even spacing of the trees. We got a little bit offset there. Also, we lost one of the bike racks between those 2 trees, but with that we defer to Boston Water Sewer if that would be okay as an alternate. I think that I can run through the improvements again if you would like, but I think since the last meeting, that's the only update that I have to present.
Okay. At this point, if it's okay with the commissioners, I'd like to just have Nick Healy summarize the streetscape improvements.
Jonathan, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Nick from IBI. Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So thanks, Steve and Jonathan, and thank you, commissioners. Like I said, my name is Nick Healy from IBI Placemaking with the landscape architects on the 566-450 project. The following plans will serve to display 566 Columbus Ave compliance with Boston Complete Street and Public Works guidelines. And some of this work, Steve and Jonathan have already touched on. For reference, Mass Ave and Columbus Ave street types have been designated as downtown mixed use, and West Springfield has been designated as neighborhood residential. Jonathan, can you go to the first slide?
First slide? This one?
I'm seeing, sorry, our first illustrative.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it now.
Sorry, I'm seeing the plan. I'm seeing Steve's plan.
Okay. I'm not on Steve's plan. I'm on that illustrative plan. Oh, it says I'm no longer presented. Let me see what's going on here.
Yeah, I can see it. It's out, Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan, if you want to go ahead and present your slides again, that's fine. Abby gave up control.
It must have jumped off. Can you see it now?
It's popping up, yeah. Okay, so this is our illustrative. Sorry. This is our illustrative context plan showing the proposed materials and site improvement layouts. And we can come back to this as a recap if needed. So you can go to the next slide.
Yep.
So here we're showing our proposed pathway red wire cut brick, showing the material and the context and the extent shown at Mass Ave, Columbus Ave, West Springfield, and how it relates to the adjacent sidewalks as well. You can go ahead.
And I'll just mention, go ahead, Nick.
Did you want to speak to this, Jonathan, or I don't mind?
I just wanted to mention at the last meeting, by guidance of the PIC, which we certainly appreciate, there was a meeting offline with the Disabilities Commission and the Landmarks Commission to review this and have come to a joint decision of proposing the red brick. So that's what we're back before you with today. Thank you.
Okay, so this graphic that Jonathan worked up is showing the current property line at 566 Columbus and public right-of-way. So in following Public Works guidelines, we will be replacing existing brick with wire-cut brick. This isn't obviously the layout, but you can see that in our overall context plan. This is Columbus Ave and Mass Ave, just showing the relationship, and West Springfield.
Sorry.
This slide.
Can you go back
Go ahead.
Was there a request? Sorry.
Sorry, do you mind going back 2 slides for
Yes.
shows of the right-of-way line?
Yep.
I apologize.
Go back again.
Yeah, go back.
No problem.
One more. Apologize.
Okay.
Just building on Jonathan's comments, and I know there have been a number of conversations with both Disabilities Commission and Landmarks about this. To your point, obviously, we're looking at redoing this entire corridor in brick as it is currently in the public right-of-way, all in brick. Right now, the tree pits are exposed. We would ask that they have tree grates in them to improve the accessibility. Even though we are going with the brick instead of the concrete, we want to make sure that this path is as accessible as possible. That would include tree grates. Is that something that you guys have designed into this?
We will follow the guidance of the commission. I just wanted to point out that by adding tree grates, we're not technically adding accessible walking surface, which I'm sure you know. It is additional surface that can be used, but as a technicality, it won't be accessible, so we wouldn't be able to claim that. Mm-hmm. But unless anyone has anything to add, I think that we are happy to follow your direction.
I can speak to this just for a moment. In the internal meeting between the Disabilities Commission and the Landmarks Commission and PIC staff, the request for the tree grates was a compromise that we all came to. It is true that the Disabilities Commission typically does not consider tree grates to be a fully accessible surface, but with the concrete sidewalk not being considered here, the nod to accessibility has been requested. So we're asking that the proponent add tree grates to all the trees on all 3 streets for installation and maintenance.
Okay, we can do
Thank you,
that.
Todd. Can I ask a quick question? Would the commission consider paver grates, or has it been decided that tree grates are the way to go?
I think we're willing to be flexible with what specifically that surface looks like. It doesn't necessarily need to be metal grates. We can figure out exactly what that design looks like offline, if that pleases the commission.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Nick, for taking you off course, but yeah, feel free to continue.
Not at all. No, this is helpful. Okay, so we're showing a slide here that defines the limits of the designated project sidewalk zones, including curb zone, furnishing, and greenscape zone, pedestrian, and frontage zones. They're indicated different colors here, obviously. We're not proposing blue brick by any means. It's just a matter of aesthetic for the graphic. This also shows some of the relationships, site improvements, street trees, street lights, and other furnishings. And then if we move on to the next, here we illustrate the layout of the 12 proposed trees and the associated continuous structural soil treeway with irrigation. Obviously, that's all below grade. And slide also shows at-grade pocket gardens at Mass Ave and West Springfield, along with some raised planters at Mass Ave and Columbus Ave building frontages. Jonathan, I don't know if there's anything else on that. Yeah, okay, I think this is
I can jump back here. We're pretty much at the end of the presentation. And so generally what we just wanted to show is the placement and location of some of these other, what we call site furnishings, and their relationship to street trees and light poles and what the scope is. So we're showing new post and ring bike racks on Columbus Ave and Mass Ave, you see. We're also looking to refurbish and relamp all the existing street lights in their current locations. We're also looking to propose new blue bike station at the corner of Columbus Ave and West Springfield, as you can see there. We previously had it going additionally to the left. We've since removed that based on comments from this commission. And we've added back some new pedestrian sidewalks at the base of the Mass Ave side. Currently, that's a much wider curb cut, so we're necking that curb cut down and bringing that sidewalk back to the pedestrian exterior. Traffic signals are to remain, trash receptacles are to remain, but this generally shows the full context of our intent. This last slide here is just for record, adding it into the record, our certificate of design approval through the Landmarks Commission, which during that hearing included both the building and the streetscape improvements that we had presented. And now we're at the conclusion of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan, Steve, and Nick. Any questions or comments, other questions or comments by members of the commission?
I just had a couple of comments. I apologize if I just spoke over somebody. Stephen and Jonathan, thanks for addressing our comments about the catch basin being close to the tree. So yeah, we looked at your comments about the roof area, and so I mean, you know, you can do it. That's, you know, we don't really have a problem or not. We just don't know if it's going to work, so to speak. So the only concern that we have is just like if there's like an issue with it, we'll just have to come back to you because we can't take any liability on it.
Okay, thank you.
And this is just a side comment, but we did get your, you know, you said the new sewer design. And I know I mentioned the last time, and as you know, too, that, that just part has to go through the site plan approval process. So at this time, we don't have concerns with the location of the sewer, since it's, we propose to put a new sewer where there already is one. But, they still may be comments with that through the site plan process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jonathan, I have a question that is not relevant to the PIP hearing process or our decision making. Just for my edification purposes only. On the ground floor of your new building, is there going to be any community space for meetings or anything of that nature?
Yes, we're proposing 4,800 square feet of ground floor community space. In general, we have what we think is a fairly robust community benefit package going back to the neighborhood. Not only has the development team provided generous contributions to a lot of the existing nonprofits in the area, but we're also dedicating free and clear. So it's essentially a donation of 4,800 square feet of nonprofit space at the base of the building. One of the most exciting hallmarks to that includes the mural that's currently on the building. We're looking to house that mural inside the building in that 4,800 square feet so that it can be very easily seen through the glass and preserved for a lifetime, which is very different than how it's currently situated. It's open to the elements. And so we've been working closely with the artist's family, the late artist who's now passed away, to get that mural curated on the inside of the building. So there's a lot that's going into that community nonprofit space, and we're excited to be at this point where we've worked very closely with the neighborhood on that.
Thank you, Mr. Dahman.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
We're all set on this.
Looks like we have at least one member of the public who would like to speak. Dolores, feel free to unmute yourself and speak on this part.
Thank you. Yes. I just wanted to say something about the depiction of the lighting that was shown for this project. It looks like there might be acorn lights. And one of the things that I've noticed about the acorn lights and other lights that are being installed, they spray light in all directions into people's windows and up into the night sky. And I think that it would be I think it would be a good thing for the city to develop a lighting design, and more attractive one than those, those typical Martian looking things that will direct a light down. Light pollution is an environmental impact, I think, that should be mitigated even in a city, and in fact, especially in a city. So I would just like to encourage the PIC and the other agencies in the city to consider, the effects of light pollution when either installing new lighting or having developers install new lighting in our city streets. That's what I wanted to offer today. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Dolores, and Todd or Par might be able to speak to this better than I can. I'm happy to share sort of some of the efforts that street lighting is making, particularly with acorn lights, but other lights as well, to make sure the light is directed to the street and sidewalk rather than sort of up to the night sky or into people's windows.
Chief, if I may.
Please, Steph.
Dolores, good to see you as always. Just a couple of thoughts, Mr. Benjamin. The city has always tried to have a balance between the type of fixtures which we use, both in the downtown area, our historic neighborhoods, and our commercial. So it's not one size fits all. These acorn lights has there may be people who may not be in favor, but there is not segment of our society that seems to love it, and we continuously look to ensure that our street light standards, including what the fixtures look like, are covered. So it's a continuing conversation in terms of what the light bulb or the fixture looks like. That's one. Two, your concerns about light pollution towards the windows. There are diffusers which we install on the inside of the lamp that minimizes, so this is something which the staff can bring to the attention of the statewide division, while we try to balance the light's functionality, which is to ensure that the sidewalk is properly lit, but we are always sensitive that we don't want to light the inside of private homes. So there are diffusers which we put inside the lamp itself to direct the light to the sidewalk and to the street, if that makes sense to your question.
Thank you for that, Laura. Other, and those are can certainly follow up on that conversation as well. Other members of the public with comments or questions? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Regarding public hearing continued agenda item 5, make a motion to approve a petition by CKG Columbus LLC for specific repairs in the area of Columbus Ave, Massachusetts Ave, and West Springfield Street, as is more particularly read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. Thank you so much.
Thank
Moving
you
on.
all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. First public hearing item on a joint petition by Seaport /C Retail Owner LLC and the Seaport Square Development Company LLC for the making of specific repairs within Seaport Boulevard, a public way in South Boston located at its northeasterly side at address number 85, generally between Sleeper Street and Fan Pier Boulevard, consisting of sidewalk reconstruction as well as new and relocated specialty pavement, street furniture, connectors, landscaping, irrigation infrastructure, and storm drain infrastructure. This was new business on August 20th, 2020. This is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Seaport Boulevard Sidewalk, Seaport Square Blocks B and C, Public Way, Boston, one sheet dated August 11th, 2020.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Jody Sanchez from Goulston and Stores. I'm here on behalf of the petitioners, Seaport Square Development Company and Seaport BC Retail Owner LLC. I'm joined today by Amy Prange of WS Development and John Schmidt from Niche Engineering. We were here, as you know, at new business a few weeks ago for approval of specific repairs to Seaport Boulevard Block BC. As you know, this area is already subject to a master LMI, and since the new business hearing, we have submitted an amendment to the Commission's legal counsel to incorporate the new plan. And unless you have any questions, I'll now turn it over to John Schmidt, who will walk through the scope of work.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmidt here with Niche Engineering. So what we're proposing is to reconstruct about 282 feet of the furnishing zone or the frontage zone along Seaport Boulevard. Essentially, we're going to be removing the pervious pavers that were installed as part of the original construction and replacing that with a mixture of pervious pavers in planting beds. We are also maintaining the vehicle drop-off area so pedestrians have a safe and accessible path to travel from the curb to the sidewalk. The sidewalk itself, the existing concrete sidewalk, will not be changed, and accessible access will be maintained as it is today. The reasoning behind this is Seaport Square is trying to take the Seaport median that was constructed a couple of years ago with those beautiful plantings and sort of bringing that to the sidewalk experience and sort of giving the Seaport Square a greener feel than it presently has.
Thanks so much. Other questions or comments on the proposal?
Excuse me, John, I just had a couple of comments,
Sure.
just a couple small comments, where we have the existing hydrants. And I apologize that this is the section you were just talking about. Originally you just had some, I think it was like a planter area there. We just want to make sure where the hydrants is that we have, some kind of like a pad underneath, like either like a concrete pad or like a square out for the hydrants.
All right, we'll provide pavers between the hydrant and the curb face. And then the plantings themselves are no higher than 18 to 24 inches, so the hydrant will still be visible and accessible.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the other comment that we had was just, it's in the back, it's right along the pedestrian easement. It's right in that vicinity. We actually have a 12-inch water main there. So someday, you know, if it's in the pedestrian easement, you know, you'll own it, but we just want to give you a heads up that someday we may be there, but it's also along the edge of your proposed work as well. So, you know, in case the only thing we do is we just replace with temporary paving when we go out there.
And we understand that, and that's, the LMI captures that as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Other questions or comments? Todd or Robin?
We're all set on this.
All right, members of the public?
I see none.
Great. I also note that if for subsequent actions that are coming up, if members of the public do have an interest in providing comment, an easy way to do it is to do what Dolores had done earlier and just simply put your name in the chat. It makes it easiest for us to know that there are members who are interested in commenting and easy for us to be able to organize the testimony from there. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Seaport BC Retail Owner LLC and Seaport Square Development Company LLC for the making of specific repairs within Seaport Boulevard as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Moving on to our second public hearing item on a petition by the President and Fellows of Harvard College for the making of specific repairs within North Harvard Street, a public way in Brighton, located on southeasterly side at address number 95, generally northeast of South Campus Drive, consisting of new and relocated specialty pavement, landscaping, and a campus wayfinding sign. This was new business on August 20th, 2020. And this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Harvard Campus Wayfinding, North Harvard Street, Boston, Alston, Mass. One sheet dated August 3rd, 2020.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Gary Hammer. I'm with the planning office at Harvard University, and we're pleased to be back before you today to present our request to install a pedestrian wayfinding sign on North Harvard Street in Alston, opposite Harvard Stadium and adjacent to the O'Leary Athletic Field. We're here focusing today on specifically this one sign, but this is part of a network of almost 24 wayfinding signs across the Alston and Cambridge campuses. The intent of which is really to make the campus a little more inviting and a little more easy to navigate for the Harvard community, but also for visitors and the general public. And we're also including on these signs common destinations outside the campus, such as the Harvard Square T Station, just to make it easier for people to navigate the area. We were able to locate all of the other signs fully within the university's property, and this is the only location where we had to extend into the public way, but we do feel that this, from a wayfinding user's perspective, this is the right location for this sign. So we are happy to be here to present this. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon McLean with the design firm of Over Under, who will walk you through the specifics. Thank you.
That's great. And can you all see my screen and hear me clearly?
We can, Shannon.
Yes. Excellent. So thank you, Gary. You've explained, you've done my job, basically. The system that Gary was referring to is organized by 3 sign types, which we've used to deploy a network of 23 signs. From left to right, the A-type signs are welcome markers. They are placed at major campus gateways. The B-type signs are orientation markers. They are placed at key decision points, often where paths converge and diverge. And C-type signs are directional markers, which reinforce route continuity and assure users that they're on the right track. So on the map, you can see that there's somewhat of a hierarchy between those signs. They're represented in different colors there. As of today, all 13 signs in Cambridge have been installed, and we are in the process of installing the next 10 signs in Alston. Today, we are seeking approval for 1 sign in Boston, sign B9, shown here in yellow, on North Harvard Street. We have strategically positioned sign B9 between Charles River and Barry's Corner to break up that distance and orient users with directional information about the campus and surrounding city. Here's an image showing the existing condition on North Harvard Street. Charles River is to the north, Harvard Business School to the east, and Harvard Stadium to the west. We are proposing the following improvements: removal of an existing hedge and replacement of said hedge with ground cover plantings. as well as the installation of a pedestrian wayfinding sign adjacent to the sidewalk, associated below-grade support footing, and an at-grade base of concrete unit pavers. These pavers have been used across the wayfinding system to unify each sign type. It also allows for a 60-inch turning radius on either side of the sign for wheelchair accessibility. And here's our proposal shown in plan. The stadium is to the north, River to the east, Harvard Business School to the south, and our sign in purple. I'll pause here and I'll let Elizabeth from Reed Hildebrand walk through the landscape improvements in more detail.
Thank you, Shannon. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
Great. This is Elizabeth Randall from Reed Hildebrand, and I don't have much to add because Shannon and Gary did such a good job of explaining, but this drawing, as you can see, shows where the existing concrete sidewalk is. The sort of narrow double line is the curb line between North Harvard and the public realm. And then, yeah, this is great. So the property line is shown in red, so you can see that there is this slight sort of overlap with the public realm. But in fact, the landscape improvements are not going to interfere with the existing concrete sidewalk. The concrete unit pavers will be laid flush with the sidewalk. And as Shannon explained, there's the full 60-inch radius per ADA. So I'm available for other questions. Oh yeah, no, this is good. The plan also displays the footings that were designed by LeMessurier and paving details. But as I said, I'm happy to answer any other questions, as I'm sure the rest of the team is as well.
Thank you, Gary, Shannon, and Elizabeth. Maybe I'm mistaken on this, I think the one issue that might have come up in the new business hearing was around an LMI for this. Is that right? And has that been resolved between now and the public hearing?
Hi, this is Brian Judge from Goulston and Storrs. Yes, you're right. We have had further conversations with Todd and Chong after the new business hearing. Everything has been resolved. The form of LMI is final, and actually a signed version has already been sent to Todd.
Great, thanks, Brian.
Sure, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
Well said. We did indeed receive the executed LMI.
Any members of the public?
Chief, I have one tiny comment.
Yep.
Sorry, I was elaborating and realized I was on mute. Thank God. Lost my train of thought. Sorry. So, Chief, one way of looking at it, this is still, since Harvard is not government, it's a 501c3 or it's considered private, and we are still introducing a sign structure for private purposes. This is one lens of looking at it, that is in one space. So it's a very tiny question. We appreciate the directional signage that is there, and I was unable to zero in on the exact message or text that you are putting on this sign. Is there someone from the Hildebrand team or the Harvard team who can zero in on what the elements of this sign in terms of, not the graphics, if there's a map? This is not structural, this is not visual. I just want to know what is it that's on the sign. Is there a Harvard logo on the sign?
Yes, this is Shannon from Over Under. Let me see if I can pull up the design for you. Just give me one moment.
And my common thinking is now in the Masco area, that is the Norwood medical area, we allow a series of directional signs on private or public space, but there's a recognition of dual identification of whether it's the city logo, and I'm not 100% certain, so if my PLC staff can help me on it, I just don't know what our logo requirements are. Okay, so you just have destinations, Harvard Square, Harvard, and do you have a Harvard School logo anywhere? So this has to do with branding, and whether there's a city logo embedded within this sign is the punchline question. So you don't have H for Harvard. And so this is basically a directional sign. And we have a map. I'm just trying to see if my eyes can zoom in. Can you expand that thing?
While Shannon is taking care of that, Gary, you mentioned this sort of in your opening comments, and I think we discussed this in new business as well, but clearly you're featuring things like the MBTA stop. Are you featuring sort of bus stations as well? Or sorry, you feature the Harvard Square T stop, but are there other sort of public assets besides Harvard destinations that are featured on the signs?
There are some, and Shannon may be able to speak specifically with regard to this sign, but yes, there are some common destinations outside the campus as well as those on the campus. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize I was on mute there. Apologies. What I wanted to make a point of is the signs are about 5 to 7 inches thick, and so we do have the shield of Harvard on the sides of the signs. We felt that we didn't need to put university branding necessarily on the face of the sign because we have school names reappear constantly. So it's kind of just Harvard, 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 Harvard throughout the sign. And as far as incorporating, landmarks in the surrounding neighborhood, it is mostly Harvard University landmarks, and we have T stations and the Harvard shuttle stops included on the map. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, other questions or comments?
I have one. This is Joe Callahan from Property Management. Who is going to monitor the signs on a timely basis for vandalism or graffiti or leafleting or damage to the signs? And then the second part of that is how quickly will you respond and fix it?
Right, so Harvard Landscape Services, which is part of our campus services group, is charged with monitoring all of these, and it's being incorporated into their regular maintenance program, so they will be monitoring it and cleaning up anything, and Shannon can probably speak to this, but if there is vandalism and it requires replacement of some of the panels, the signs are designed so that the panels are easily replaceable, so it will be part of our regular maintenance and monitoring process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? And again, Todd or Avi?
We're all set.
And no members of the public?
Dolores.
We do, okay. Yep. Dolores, you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. It's just a question, and this is for the university, and it might be outside the scope of this particular hearing, but it came up in the presentation with regard to the removal of the bushes and that it replaced with ground cover. Would the university be willing to describe that? And I ask that because those bushes offer some, soften the streetscape, especially in comparison to what's happening on the other side with the stadium. So I'd like to know, and perhaps the commission would like to know what that ground cover would be.
Sure. Would you like me to answer that, Gary? Okay. Hi, this is Elizabeth at Reed Hildebrand again. So the main reason for removing the hedge is for visibility. We felt that we needed to pull back a bit so that when you're walking from the north, you can see the sign more clearly. But we will be, as Shannon mentioned, placing a robust ground cover in there, and we're working with our landscape contractor to make sure that it's something that will thrive and will, in the same way, provide some softness. I think those yew hedges are, they certainly serve a purpose, but I think that there are a lot of them, and in some ways it may be nice to have some variety, and it won't be something terribly low. It will be, I think it's either going to be Lariopis spicata or a native Pachysandra. And so, I think we're working to figure out what is going to thrive and what will continue to provide green and some softness there.
Thank you, Dolores, and thank you, Elizabeth. Other questions or comments from members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve a petition by the President and Fellows of Harvard College for the making of specific repairs within North Harvard Street, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Moving on to the public hearing portion. I'm sorry, moving on to our next item. On a petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Boylston Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its northwesterly side, address number 1241 between Park Drive and Ipswich Street. This was new business on August 20th, 2020. This is shown on the plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Ipswich Street, 1241 Boylston Street, Boston, one sheet dated July 31st, 2020.
Hey, thanks, Chris, and good morning. As you just mentioned, we were before you a couple of weeks ago as new business. And just as a quick reminder, this is for a 184-room hotel, 8 stories, approximately 4,000 square foot restaurant that then spills out onto an outdoor terrace on the south side of the building along Boylston Street. We've got a big team here today. I'm joined by Dennis Mitchell and Steve Caprio from OTO, as well as John Schmidt from Niche, and Guy Busa and Ian McKinnon from Howard-Side Hudson, Rob Adams from Halverston, Mary Farai, and Kelly Morgan from Group 1, and Don Wiest from Dane Torpy. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to John, and we'll be available for questions as well. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Chanel, you had the drawing up. Could you put that up again? We lost you. So the first action, as Chanel brings up the drawing, maybe she lost connection.
John, I know that Taylor sort of already did this as well. But you have the next 4 actions all involve this project. As you know, you can sort of give the I think you're going to do,
Sure.
go center and give us some context, and then we'll dive into more actions.
Oh, okay. So the first, here we come, Chanel. So this is the project is located at the intersection of Boylston Street and Ipswich Street. And the Boston Arts Academy is currently under construction, is to the top of the plan. And the project has been coordinating with that team as well. Fortunately, Niche is on both teams, so it's easier for us to coordinate. The first action before you is a pedestrian easement. If you want to go ahead 2 pages to that. 2 slides ahead. It's a pedestrian easement along Boylston Street. Chanel, can we go ahead 2 sheets? Thank you. So here we go. This is the pedestrian easement along Boylston Street. Now this is a topic for discussion. We recently discovered that this section of Boylston Street is owned by DCR, and DCR's jurisdiction actually ends at the intersection with Ipswich Street. In the actions before you today, we do have a specific repair for Boylston Street, and we can make that determination if it's something you want. We don't need to go there now. We can make the determination whether or not the board needs to act on this today or not. But regarding the pedestrian easement, we still want to proceed with the pedestrian easement because that would ensure that we have safe and accessible access that meets the requirements and the desires of the city through this section of Boylston Street. So DCR will own the right-of-way itself of Boylston Street, but then there will be a pedestrian easement that the developer is giving to the city for pedestrian access here. That's about 1.5 to 2 feet wide, and it's about 135 feet long, and you can see it on this plan in red.
Thank you, John. And correct me if I'm wrong, our approach, we will sort of proceed with this action as and have the PIC choose to vote on it. Take the easement. John, is that correct?
Yeah, so we had some conversations with the project team and also with representatives from DCR. There was a little bit of a question of whether the city should accept this easement or if DCR should. We certainly want to ensure that this area is open and accessible to pedestrians at all times. And absent a clear path forward with DCR accepting this easement, I think it's appropriate for the city to go ahead and take it. So I think we can move forward with this action.
All right, John, anything you want to add on the pedestrian easement side?
No, I do not.
Okay, all right. Questions or comments by members of the commission? Other comments, Todd or Robbie?
No, we're good. Thank you.
No, all right. Any questions or comments by members of the public?
I don't see any.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion on a petition, to approve a petition by the president and fellows of Harvard College for the on a petition of 1241 Boylston LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Boylston Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item related to this project, petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk, and roadway reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement streetlights, traffic signal infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, and a driveway curb cut. Locations are Boylston Street on its northwesterly side, generally at address number 1241 at Ipswich Street, and Ipswich Street on its northeasterly side between Van Ness Street and Boylston Street. This was new business on August 20th, 2020. This is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Ipswich Street, Boylston Street, 1241 Boylston Street, Boston, 4 sheets, dated August 27th, 2020.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. So before you is specific repairs along Ipswich Street and Boylston Street. Depending on how the city chooses to act regarding Boylston Street, we can, when we submit the Mylars, we can delete the Boylston Street improvements, or we can just show them there for informational purposes. The improvements that we're proposing along Ipswich Street is we are adjusting the curb line to align with the Boston Arts Academy project, and this also provides a drop-off for the hotel. We are installing a new commercial driveway at the alley, the private alley that serves both this project and the school. We are providing permeable pavers within the furnishing zone and then the concrete sidewalk and within the pedestrian zone. And then along the building face, we also have concrete pavers. We are installing new streetlights. There are no existing street trees out there, and presently there are none proposed. We are providing new accessible ramps at the intersections as well as a reciprocal ramp. Along Boylston Street, we have the permeable pavers. The Boylston Street as well as Ipswich is designed to be compliant with the complete streets requirements. We have permeable pavers along the frontage zone. We have the pedestrian easement, which was just granted. We do have 6 new street trees along Boylston Street. There are no existing street trees presently. We are adjusting the curb line. And it's been coordinated with DCR and with BTD. We are also showing the bike lane and the associated curbing with that. But we understand that the final design of this is still being worked out with the city and with DCR. So however that ends up, right now we're showing it flush, but it could also be raised. But we're showing the condition as we understand it today. We included a new bike station that was an item that came up with the new business for Blue Bikes, and we have new streetlights.
Great, John. And you talked about this in new business, but can just make sure we're on the same page, that there's coordination around this work and the work with the Boston Arts Academy, both on the CMP as well as how these designs actually connect.
I believe there is coordination, and I don't know if anyone on this team could jump in to confirm that.
Yeah, this is Guy Busa with Howard Stein Hudson. We're also working with both the Boston Arts Academy and 1241. So the CMPs have been fully coordinated. In fact, the CMP for 1241 has been approved already by PD.
Great, thank you, Guy.
I would just point out, John, on the bike lane is a raised facility as proposed at this point, right? And that is being worked through with DCR. DCR came through Jeff Parenti, has approved the concept for everything on Boylston Street, including the bikes here station that you see in the plans here.
Thank you, Guy. I think, and to John, the point that, or the sort of question for the Mylars, it would be great to continue to show the section just for reference of the DCR portion. Nobody else for reference.
What we will do is delineate the ownership between DCR and the city on that.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Other questions or comments on this?
Oh, yes, I did have a couple comments. Guy, thank you for responding to my email about the bike thing, and so we'll get in touch with BTD. We do have a water main there. That's why we had a question on it. So we just had a couple of additional comments. We just want to make sure we have gutter mounts on all the catch basins within the limit of work. If the catch basins are, the gutter mounts on the catch basins are broken, they need to be replaced. And also at the corner of Ipswich and Boylston, there's a existing hydrant there. And we have the new bump out. We're just concerned about it meeting our requirements of the 18 inches from the curb to the center of the hydrants. So a suggestion we made, since you, you know, you have you proposed to remove some traffic facilities there, you know, moving that to that slot could be a way around that issue.
Thank you, Denise. We will, I hear your concerns, and I will work with the design engineer to make sure that gets incorporated into the design, and if it cannot, we will let you know why.
Okay, great, thanks. And then there was just one other small comment that we had. There was just a new catch basin on Ipswich Street. It's about like halfway up the street.
Mm-hmm.
So we were concerned, we just wanted to know where that was going to go to. We just didn't see where it was going into the drainage system.
Okay, we'll share that information with you offline.
All right, great. No, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
No, we'd just like to confirm that all of the work shown on Ipswich Street is going to be maintained by the project, and all of the work shown on Boylston Street is going to be maintained by either the project or DCR, and that the city will not have any maintenance responsibilities for any of this shown work.
And Dolores put a question in the chat, which I don't know if a member of the project team or if Amy is able to respond to, but what the resulting sort of curb-to-curb width of Boylston Street is, whether there's any change as a result of this project.
Yeah, this is Guy Busa here. So the existing curbs on Boylston Street stay exactly where they are, Dolores? Well, everybody. The bike lane, the raised bike facility is outside of that existing curb. So the travel lanes do narrow down here. The curb on Ipswich Street and the bump out does move into Ipswich Street some, which is a pretty wide street. And as John Schmidt mentioned, it aligns with what's going on at the Boston Arts Academy. But Boylston Street stays as is, basically the curb, the bike lanes within that curb area right now between the paved area.
And Guy or other members of the team, correct me if I'm wrong, that is in keeping with sort of the rest of the overall Boylston Street design in Park 5 to... Yes, we worked that through with Charlotte Fleetwood at BTD and the rest of the BTD crew. Great, thank you. Other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the making of specific repairs within Boylston and Ipswich Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Moving on to our third item associated with this project, on a petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the granting of a projection license for the installation of a canopy over a portion of the sidewalk within Ipswich Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its northeasterly side of 1241 Boylston Street between Van Ness Street and Boylston Street. This was new business on August 20, 2020, and it's shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Canopy License Plan, Ipswich Street, 1241 Boylston Street, Boston, one sheet dated August 13, 2020.
Thank you, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. Chanel, could you pull up the canopy plan? There we go. Thank you very much. So the canopy is located along Ipswich Street at the main entrance. It consists of approximately 175 square feet. It projects about 6 feet out of the 20-foot wide sidewalk, so we're less than the 2/3 requirement. And the base of the canopy is 10 feet above the existing sidewalk, and it also is heat traced and internally drained. It meets all the design requirements that the city requires for canopies.
Great, and I don't remember well enough the Boston Arts Academy design. Do you know if there are canopies on the on that Ipswich Street side of the Boston Arts Academy, and if they are in line with this?
Could you ask that again?
Sorry, I don't know if there's other projections on the Boston Arts Academy.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with the Boston Arts Academy project to know if it is in alignment with them or not.
You know, Chris, I think, this is Guy Busa here again, I think that by the time you see any canopy on the Arts Academy, you would have turned the corner. Yeah, because the main entrance is up around the corner.
Yep.
But I'm not, as John mentioned, I'm not that familiar with the canopies out there.
Other questions or comments on the canopy license, production license? Todd, Robbie?
We're all set with this. Thank you.
All right, members of the public?
I see none.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
The public hearing, agenda item 5, I make a motion to approve a petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the granting of a projection license in the area of Ipswich Street and Boylston Street as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our fourth and final action associated with the project, a petition by 1241 Boylston Street LLC for the granting of an earth retention license for the installation of a temporary earth support system within Ipswich Street, a public way in Boston proper, located on its northeasterly side of 1241 Boylston Street between Van Ness Street and Boylston Street. This was new business on August 20th, 2020, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Support of Excavation Plan, 1241 Boylston Street, Boston, one sheet dated June 30th, 2020.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. So this supportive excavation is along Ipswich Street, and it will be project approximately 4 to 5 feet into the public way. At its completion, it will be cut to be 6 feet below finished grade, and is internally braced. There are no further projections into the public way, such as tiebacks or things like that, proposed.
Thank you, John. Questions or comments on the supportive excavation plan? Robbie?
We're all set.
Members of the public?
I see none.
All right, I will entertain a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve a petition by 1241 Boylston LLC for the granting of an earth retention license in Ipswich Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving on to new business. First item is 50 Stedman Street, Brookley Road, West Roxbury, widening and relocation, specific repairs on a set of petitions by 50 Stedman Street LLC.
Hi, good morning. My name is Anthony Donato at Hancock Associates. Let me just.
Anthony, we did hear you, and then you put yourself on mute.
Here we go. So, is that better?
We can hear you. Perfect.
Okay. That's not. No problem here. So if I can share the screen, I can show you the existing conditions of the site. Partly it's a 14,000 square foot site that was being used as an automotive repair shop. The existing building will be raised and replaced with a 3-story residential building for 21 units and 21 garage spaces underneath. Can I share my screen?
You can. We can also have, so there's an option to do it if you sort of go to the bottom of the Google Meet function. You can see a Present Now button and be able to share your screen from there.
Okay, thank you. Can you see that screen?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so that's the existing site as it is now, which is scheduled to be demolished in the near future. The proposed development will look like this. It's 3-story townhouse units, and this is a view looking north, and a view looking south, and a view looking behind the property. Stedman Street is a public way that's currently used with public access. There's municipal water within the right-of-way. However, there is no drainage or sewer infrastructures within the street. As part of the development, the developer will be constructing 150 feet of 10-inch sewer brought in from Brookley Road and 100 feet of a 12-inch drain line on behalf of Boston Water and Sewer. We believe to have adequately addressed all comments received during the draft engineer's report that was sent to all consultants, all required utility contents in public and private, and would be happy to answer any questions.
Do you mind first on the widening and relocation plan, the one that we have here? Sorry, exactly, this one. Do you mind I apologize, Anthony, can you just walk us through that in a little more detail?
Sure, there's a potential for future development south of the property. It's currently used as a contractor store warehouse. There's potential to, in the future, to have that develop and connect with Stoneley Road to the north. So as part of that, we were requested to provide a swath of land on the east side of the property, as shown here in red, a proposed widening area with the intent that Stebbins Street may become public in the future.
Got it.
So, you hearing an echo? But,
I am not, but it might be that, I think we're picking up both your computer audio as well as perhaps the phone audio. I'm not sure if, I apologize if you're hearing yourself in stereo. So this widening action is to help us be able to conform, the street be able to conform to public way standards so that if this ever switches from a private way to a public way, there would be the right sort of width in front of your property. Is that correct, Anthony or Todd?
yes, that is.
Okay. Got it. Good. All right, other questions or comments on the widening and relocation action? All right, if we can sort of talk about the specific repairs exactly as you're doing, Anthony.
Oh, sure, okay, let me get back to that. So we'll be constructing sidewalk along the south side of Stedman Street, all the way down to Brookley Road.
Yep.
And repaving a portion of Stedman Street. One of the requests that we received was to maintain a minimum of 20 feet. So there's a section right over here where we're proposing to provide additional pavement widening. So that's the extent of the improvements, other than the utility improvements I previously mentioned, which includes the extension of the water, the drainage and the sewer lines, and there will be an extension of the electrical services provided. It's coordinated with Eversource. And that will benefit future developments as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments on the specific repair part of this? Todd or Robbie?
I think we're all set. Just to clarify, the widening is predominantly being done in order to allow for an accessible sidewalk in front of this development. The notion is Stedman would extend at some point in the future. I don't know that it will necessarily become public, but it could definitely get longer as a private way. But that's undecided and it's going to depend on other area development.
Got it. But the widening at least will allow us to have an accessible sidewalk from Brookley to the new residences at the end of Stedman Street.
It's going to be a drastic improvement to the existing conditions.
Thanks for the contextuals, Anthony. All right, any comments from members or questions from members of the public?
I don't see any.
All right, Anthony, see you in 3 weeks. Does that work for you for the public hearing?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, until then.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Moving on to our next item of new business, Saratoga Street, Ford Street in East Boston, a grant of location on a petition by TC Systems. Do we have a representative from TC Systems here?
So I know Chris Murray was going to be calling in. He had some connection issues last time. I don't know if he's called in or not. Chris, if you can hear us, you're muted.
If there's not somebody here from TC Systems right now, we can. Chris, was that you? All right, if there's not somebody here from TC Systems, why don't we skip ahead to new business items, and we can come back to TC Systems at the end of the agenda. So our next new business item is 350 Boylston Street, Arlington Street, Providence Street, and Boston proper, specific repairs and a projection license on a set of petitions by Arlington Boylston Realty Trust. The project proponents from Arlington Boylston Realty Trust are here.
Hello, this is Barbara Boylan. Can you hear me?
You can, Barbara.
Good morning. Hello, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Barbara Boylan from the Drucker Company Limited, and thank you for the opportunity to briefly introduce to you the 350 Boylston project. And Anna, if you have the rendering, if you could put that up now, please. Perfect. And I'm going to introduce briefly our team members present today, if you have any questions. And then I'm going to turn this presentation over to John Schmidt from Niche Engineering, who will present our two petitions before you today, the projection license and the specific repair plan. As you probably know, the 350 Boylston Street project consists of a mixed-use 9-story building at the southwest corner of Arlington and Boylston Streets, and will contain approximately 221,230 square feet of zoning gross floor area, including ground floor retail and restaurant space and upper level office space, approximately 150 parking spaces, and an approximately 6,000 square foot fitness center and spa for the building's tenants. Some background on the project. This project was fully approved through the large project review in 2009. The various BPDA and BTD agreements were fully executed in 2010. A building permit application was submitted in 2010, and relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals was issued and extended through and including through December 2020. However, the difficulties with the financial markets in 2008 and subsequent years made securing tenants and investors difficult. So this project was unable to proceed at that time. So last September in 2019, a notice of project change was filed for lapse of time only, as the project is consistent in use and design with the originally approved project. Although we had all of our previous approvals, including PIC, we had a BPDA held public hearing on the notice of project change for time lapse, and in June of 2020, all the Article 80 approvals have been fully executed. Our originally approved TAPA from 2010 was recently amended, and the TAPA amendment was fully executed by BTD in August of 2020. And also by BTD, the 350 Boylston Construction Management Plan was similarly approved in August 2020. So today we have with us our consultant team, and on the line are Goulston and Storrs, David Linhart, CBT architect Jim Monteverdi, Haley and Aldrich, Mike Atwood, Copley Wolf, Sean Sanger, and from Niche Engineering, Anna Murphy and John Schmidt. So if you do not have any questions for me, I'll now turn it over to John Schmidt to present our petitions.
Barbara, that was really helpful.
Thank you.
Any questions on the project overall before we get into the specific actions? Okay, John, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. We have 3 specific repair plans, one on Boylston Street, Arlington Street, and Providence Street. On Boylston Street, we are providing a complete street compliant sidewalk with a 9.5-foot wide concrete sidewalk in a 5-foot pervious zone. We are planting 2 trees, and we are installing 4 new streetlights. As we take the corner and we head down along Arlington Street, we are providing.
Before we do on the Boylston Street design, we've been using it in several blocks of Boylston Street, essentially the standard that was modeled with the Johnson Building BPL brand. You know how similar this Boylston Street sidewalk design is to the blocks we've been rebuilding, essentially at the other end of Boylston?
Hey, Chris, this is Sean Sanger over at Copley Wolf. We've been coordinating with Zach and Jill. Yep. We've got their specs, sizes, colors, you name it. We folded that into the drawings already.
You talked to the right people. Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Sure.
Thank you, Sean. As we head down Arlington Street, we will have a completely poured concrete sidewalk, maintaining the existing sidewalk width of approximately 14.9 feet. We are reconstructing the ramps so they're all compliant. And then as we turn down Providence Street, we are maintaining that existing curb line and providing a 7.1 concrete sidewalk. And this is also the back of house where the loading dock and deliveries will be provided as well. We have a signed TAPA, and as of this week, we have a signed CMP, and we're in the process of working on the LMI with Chong. We do have several city agencies which we have not been able to get written confirmation from, but we have met with them either verbally or in person, and when we come back in 3 weeks for the public hearing, those agencies will be satisfied.
Great, thank you, John. Questions? Other questions on the specific repair plan? Okay. Anything else that John or Barbara you want to cover with this project? Or projection licenses or?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we have one. I was waiting for you to introduce me. We have one more action, the canopy license. And on Boylston Street, we have one canopy, which is going to be heat traced and internally drained. It will project out from the sidewalk about 10 feet, but that's less than the 2/3 distance. At the building, it's 13.8 feet above the sidewalk, and at its extension, it's 16.5 feet above the sidewalk. It complies with the city requirements. Also, along Boylston Street, we have 17 retractable awnings that are 10 feet above grade and will project out about 2.5 feet when they are opened. We continue the awning design along along Arlington Street too, where we have the same type of awning with the same height of 10 feet, and we have 10 awnings proposed along Arlington Street as well.
Great, and just to confirm, it looks like...
Sorry, John, this is Jim Monteverde. You want to go around Providence Street also?
We have, according to Jim, we have...
we have one more canopy at a garage entry. You can see the projection, and you can see the height on the drawing. Those are compliant.
Oh, okay.
And there are 3 more
retail
retail awnings that are along Providence Street, wrapping around the corner.
Thank you, Jim. I found that drawing.
There you go.
There it is in front of me. Yep. So it's the same awning. We're wrapping around the entire building on the 3 streets.
And if you can just hop back quickly, I think 1 page to the Arlington Street side, just looking at that, the awnings that are sort of adjacent to the head houses, the 2 head houses.
Yeah.
Even, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like even there, it's only covering about 1/3 of the actual sort of whole sidewalk.
That is correct. And when we come back in, hopefully in 3 weeks, we can have that dimension just to confirm that question.
Great. Thanks, John.
So that's it for the canopies and projections.
Great. All right. Todd or Robbie, any questions?
John, you may have mentioned this, maybe I just missed it. Just worth noting, there is a modified groundwater recharge system being installed beneath the sidewalk in Providence Street.
Yes, that is true. Thank you. Here, and I apologize. Yes, so when we were before you 10 years ago, we had a recharge system at that time, which considered acceptable. But over the last 10 years, design requirements have changed, and we've all gotten a little bit, and the policies have changed. So we have since now moved that groundwater recharge system in Providence Street into the building where we have a tank that will collect that stormwater, and then we have a series of injection wells within the sidewalk of Providence Street.
And while we're looking at Providence Street, it is a new curb cut and new driveway entrance. Is that right? There's not an existing one?
There, no, I believe.
Or is there an existing driveway there?
Jim, you could please.
There are 2 driveway entrances, so John, yeah, sorry, here you go. On this drawing, I think if you go back to the one you were just at, please. Whoever's got the cursor, I'll walk you down. Starting from the corner at Arlington, if we come down about halfway down, you'll see the first curb cut. A little wider puppy. That's a curb cut to allow 4 loading bays within the building. So there are 2 overhead doors there. Each door serves 2 loading bays. And then you'll see the curb comes back out to the street and then wraps back to the building. Sorry, I'm moving my cursor, but and that's the garage, the parking garage entry, below ground parking garage. So there are 2 lanes there. There's an in and an out. And that's the final curb cut, and then the curb wraps back out to Providence Street. Those are the curb cuts on Providence Street.
Perfect, great. All right, any other questions or comments on the specific repairs or the protection license? All right, we'll see you guys in 3 weeks if that works for you.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Until then.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Our next item of new business is 55 India Street, Wells Street, Franklin Street, John F. Fitzgerald Surface Road, Boston proper, vertical discontinuances, pedestrian easements, specific repairs, temporary earth retention license, set of joint petitions by BRG 55 India LLC, the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, and the Boston Planning and Development.
Good morning. Hi, this is Deb Danik with Niche Engineering. Thank you very much for hearing us. Also on this call / video, I have here to represent the project. We have Curtis Kameni, who's the developer, his representative, Joshua Sidney. We also have Chris Clements from Goulston and Storrs, the project's legal team. Also, in addition, we have members from the design team, including Scott Thompson, the architect, Guy Busa, traffic engineer, and Scott Smith, our geotechnical engineer. So I'm gonna share my screen to show you the documents. So hopefully you can see a pretty rendering of what the building will be at 50 Street. I see it's trying to pop up.
Yep, we got it done.
Wonderful. So I may skip to the next slide really quickly to better show you the site. My computer's freaking out a little bit. There we go. So a little bit hard to see, but our site is actually located at 55 India Street and currently is a parking lot. The site is bounded by India Street to the north. We have the surface artery and the Greenway to the east, Wells Street, which is a one-way street going this way, and Franklin Street, one-way street going north. And this portion of India Street actually is a one-way street going west. But the proposed design is to construct a residential building. You can see here it's 11 stories with multi-use, and that the first floor will have some retail and commercial space. Otherwise will be residential units. You can see here too, this rendering is very helpful to see that the building actually has a significant overhang, and I can better describe this too when we go to the site plan, but basically existing, we're looking at the building kind of standing at the corner of Surface Road and India Street. So India Street is to the right, Surface Road is to the left. What happens in real life where kind of there's this diagonal overhang of the building, there's a significant utility corridor filled with utilities. And then as we move closer to ourselves and towards Surface Road artery, there's actually the wall associated with the central artery below, the tunnel wall for 93. So what we're proposing to do is to build our building. Included in that, we have a partial basement, and the basement is being used for building usage, storage, some of the utilities. But as you can see, the building is, the basement, the proposed basement is triangular shaped so that we can protect that utility corridor that's running parallel to the surface artery. The other thing I just want to note, because it'll come up when we ask for our discontinuances, is that there's one column right here that's kind of in the utility corridor area and will slightly go outside of the property line in order for us to construct it. But ultimately, we couldn't build this huge cantilevered portion of the building without this extra column here. So we'll be talking about that a little later in our requests. So our first request really is to be able to construct that basement that I talked about, kind of this triangular shaped area. So we're proposing to put in some temporary earth support, which will be soldier piles and lagging, and it will work all internally braced within the site. We do have some pretty specific details for this. As we mentioned, there's a utility corridor running through here. One of the utilities closest to the building is actually USC sewer main. So we've been discussing closely with BWSC, and Ms. Devlin had some comments to making sure that we're going to protect our pipe. We've had multiple conversations with BWSC already, just in general, about easements through here, what we're doing with water lines, and kind of how we're building this building. And as we work our way through our other requests, as I mentioned, and I'm sorry I forgot to first mention, this parcel is very, very small. It's about 7,000, a little over 7,000 square feet. So in order to really get the program that we want in the building, we're also requesting to do some overhangs from the building. Those overhangs include canopies, more permanent structures to cover some of the entrances, as well as actual areas of the building where there will be living space. And then we have also, when we get over to India Street, we actually have just some open air balconies. So when we look at this plan along Franklin Street, we're requesting building canopy overhang as well as actual building volume. Sorry. When we get over to India Street, that's where I talked about, you can see kind of there are these open air balconies. And then also because of the shape of the property, it was a little hard to see before, it has curved edges. We have one tiny corner of the building in order to have not a curved corner of the building. We're requesting some airspace through there just to get the corner of our building at this northeast side near Indian Surface Road. And I may add too, Surface Road is still owned by MassDOT, so they're a co-petitioner for us on this portion for the portions for Surface Road. And if I misspoke, please feel free to jump in, Chris. And then
a quick note on that. Sorry, thank you for raising exactly that. Is there anything, Todd, is there anything we need to consider about sort of the current sort of ownership or management of the road, since it's MassDOT and then will become us? Right. I'm seeing from Amy that I'll plow straight ahead as we're doing. Okay. All right. So as long as MassDOT's a co-petitioner, everything, and this is meeting our PIC standards, that works well as a process. Is that right?
Yeah, we're bringing this through as we normally would with other central artery streets. This is going to be ours at some point in the future, so we want to make sure we like it.
Appreciate that. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Thank you. So then when we get to Wells Street, we have kind of the same condition at Franklin Street. We have a building overhang, for to protect pedestrians as they come in the building, and then some areas of volume where the people are living in the units. And then this is kind of what I alluded to earlier. So those are all above grade discontinuances that we're requesting. We do have one below grade discontinuance, and this is the area in the bottom that I talked about for that one building column that comes down at the front of the building. Just that in order to actually construct that column, we need to fluff out outside of the property line. So we're requesting some below grade discontinuance through that area as well for that column. And its foot. So then, let me double check. Yeah, that's my pedestrian easement plan. It's pretty small on my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it better than me. So then so we're also proposing some specific repairs around the building, but also part of that, we're proposing pedestrian easements. And basically, as I kind of mentioned, the parcel's very small. A lot of the the building is basically close to the property line. So we're proposing along Franklin and Wells Street, which the existing sidewalks are in the range of 5 to 6 feet wide. We're proposing to basically give pedestrian easement for the rest of the width of the sidewalk that will be from the property line to our building face to the public pedestrians, because it'll really feel like it's part of their sidewalk anyway. So that's what these plans are showing on both Franklin and then I'll flip to Wells Street. So you can see here too, and we're also, when we get to talk about Wells Street, we've provided a more generous pedestrian easement because we'll talk about some roadway bump in that we've been discussing with BTD on Wall Street. So to the specific repairs, I'm going to kind of go clockwise around the building. This is a little twisted, but we're going to start at Franklin Street, which is on the west side of the building, and then end at Well, because that's a little bit more of a discussion. But right now, existing Franklin Street, I mentioned this parcel was parking lot. It's currently just about a little over a 5-foot wide sidewalk that actually is one huge couple of driveway openings in order to facilitate cars to get into there. So we're proposing to put in standard granite curb and standard city concrete. The other thing that we will be proposing in this area is part of our stormwater management and recharge system. Because of the small nature of this parcel, we're proposing to have a stormwater storage tank in the building that will pump stormwater to infiltration wells to recharge. And we're proposing those to be in the sidewalk under Franklin Street. As we move our way to India Street, there's a little more gracious sidewalk there. So we're proposing to keep a minimum of a 5-foot wide clear cement concrete sidewalk, but then also propose a paver banding of pervious pavers at the back of curb. And it'll be vertical granite curb through there as well. Moving over to surface arteries where we get a little fancier and more fun, continuing kind of the improvements that were done at the adjacent 110 Broad Street, the Boulevard project. We're looking to provide, something a little prettier for those people walking along the artery. We will continue to keep the clear minimum 5-foot wide pedestrian walkway, but also incorporate in a paver banding so that it matches the new work that just happened south of the project a couple years ago. And then another thing we've been talking with the BPDA and the Accessibilities Commission about is, India, this part works its way out towards India Wharf ultimately. So kind of providing those stamped granite pavers that indicate the limits of the wharf that you've probably seen other places along the surface road. We're working to provide those here as well. And then also there'll be a couple landscape movable planters. This area over here in between the boulevard and our project is kind of a big open, no person's land space. So we're trying to put a little prettiness in there, but as well as provide a couple bicycle racks in here. It's a little bit of a weird spot in that there's not really many pedestrians that are walking up Wells Street through here, other than to access our building or the boulevard next door. So then we get to Wells Street. So this, again, the plan has rotated about 90 degrees. So this is that park I was talking about with landscape planters, and Surface Road is to the right on the plan. So Wells Street, we've been having discussions with BTD, and we're still working through them and hope to have them figured out by the next public hearing. But really to talk about Wells Street and how this may function. I kind of mentioned it's one way, and it comes one way up from Broad Street, turns around, and then ends up in Franklin, and then you're one way to get out over to India Street. So the realistic nature of who actually drives through here, it's the people that use this boulevard building, and then ultimately once our building gets built, our building. The main entrance for our building is off of Wells Street. So, in an effort to, when cars come through here in this street, maybe I can zoom in. I'm gonna ruin it, we'll leave it. The actual paved width right now of Wall Street is about 15 feet. So, sorry, it might be 14. So our intent is to provide a little bit of a bump in so that cars, when they're dropping off people with groceries, when there's someone delivering food, whatever may be the action that's happening through here, they can at least pull to the side a little bit so another car may be able to pass through. So we're talking right now with BTD about providing and kind of trying to make this area people walk through here and have a partially tabled Wall Street, so that this feels definitely a lot more like a pedestrian area. One will help us with our buildings that have pick up and drop off and still allow the traffic through, but also not have people realize that this really isn't an area that we want them just driving through and hanging out in. So part of that, we're talking very closely with BTD about what that actual design means, where the roadway may ramp up. We've gotten to the point where, it makes sense for the project to have the sidewalk at grade with the roadway on our project side, and then maintain the curb reveal on the south side of the street in order to help with drainage in the area. And so we're just kind of talking through locations of bollards, locations of where the ramp up happens, and then even, pedestrian crossings over here. Can we make these work such that, this now pedestrian crossing is at grade? So when people ramp down, this really is, the pedestrians are the important part of this process.
Great.
So that's a long-winded way of our requests. We have some details associated too with some of the specifics, but I look forward to hearing questions.
One request, thinking of everything we just said on Wells Street, obviously, is, I think you well know, Union Street was sort of built with a similar design right outside of City Hall. And we have sort of the benefit of kind of learning from that, and sort of coordinating with Todd just to make sure that we're getting feedback about how that has gone, how that might inform what the Wells Street design might look like, would be helpful.
Absolutely, yep.
Sorry, other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
I'll just mention that Lisa Harrington from the BPDA is on the call, and the BPDA is coordinating with the project for the associated takings.
Yes, we are taking this to our board a week from today, and we'll be a co-petitioner on this continuance.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, any comments from members of the public?
I don't see any.
All right. Deb, does 3 weeks work for you?
Yes, please, that sounds great.
Great, all right, we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Wonderful, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Chris with TC Systems. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Chris. I'll introduce you in literally right now. That works for you.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, so moving on to our final 2 items of new business. The first one is Saratoga Street and 4th Street in East Boston, a granted location on a petition by TC Systems.
Hi, this is Chris Murray with the GMR Group representing TC Systems, looking for a grand location on Saratoga Street. As you can see from the plans, we've got about 550 feet of micro trenching, and we're breaking into a couple of Verizon manholes. And we've got another 50 feet or so of traditional trenching on the other side of the MBTA railroad bridge. No participants.
Great. And Chris, any new manholes or handholds as part of this?
There will be 2 new manholes. One on the intersection with Bennington Street, right next to the Verizon hole. That's over transition from the micro trench to the traditional trench. And then the other one is a little bit further down towards 4th Street.
Got it. If you can explore, particularly the one that's on 4th Street, if you can just explore between now and the public hearing whether that can be, it looks like 3 by 3, so maybe it's not possible, but anyway, if you can explore whether that can be put in the furnishing zone of the sidewalk rather than the roadbed, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll do.
Other questions or comments on this? Todd or Robbie?
No, we have some minor plan comments that we'll pass along to Chris, but I'm sure you can get those cleaned up in the next few weeks.
Members of the public?
I see none.
All right. Chris, does 3 weeks work for you on this project?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. And then moving on to our final item of new business, St. Andrew Road, Terragram Street, East Boston, grant location, on petition by TC Systems.
Hi again, Chris Murray with the Giamatti Group representing TC Systems for grant location along St. Andrews at Terragram Street in order to provide service to a small cell. We're going to be doing mostly micro trench, and we'll have one manhole at the intersection of Terragram and St. Andrew. No participants.
Great. And with that one, if you can just confirm that that doesn't conflict with the crosswalk, or I defer to Amy on this, but I just want to make sure that that's not located in a place, if we can locate it outside of the crosswalk, obviously that's preferable.
Okay, will do.
All right. Thank you, Chris. All right, any other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
Same thing, minor comments, not an issue.
All right. Members of the public?
I see none.
All right, Chris, we'll see you in 3 weeks on this one as well.
All right, thank you very much for your help. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. All right.
Have a good weekend.
You too. That was our final item, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Take care, all.